Captain Jinday stood in the control room of Sentinel-9, staring at the empty stars. He had been doing this job for 3 years now, watching the darkness for something that never came. Earth had built this station far from home, hoping to find other life in the universe. So far, they had found nothing but silence. Jin was a tall man with tired eyes. He had fought in Earth's last war back when humans were still fighting each other. Those days were over now. Humanity had finally united, built ships that could travel faster than light, and reached out to the stars. But the stars had not reached back. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Hana, the station's language expert. She was young, brilliant, and had never seen a real war. Jin envied that innocence. "What kind of strange?" Jin asked, walking over to her station. "It's a signal, not natural. Someone is broadcasting, and it's not us." Hana's fingers flew across her keyboard. Her face was pale. "Captain, I think it's a distress call." Jin felt his heart speed up. After years of silence, finally, proof that humanity was not alone. "Can you translate it?" "Give me time," Hana said. She pulled up the signal on the main screen. It was a mess of sounds, nothing like any human language. But there was a pattern, a desperate repetition that needed no translation. Someone was begging for help. Lieutenant Sung walked into the room carrying 2 cups of coffee. He was Jin's second in command, a solid man who had also seen war. "What's happening?" "First contact," Jin said quietly. "Get everyone up here, now." The next hour was chaos. The entire crew of Sentinel-9 gathered in the control room. Engineer Bora, the youngest member of the crew, kept asking questions nobody could answer yet. Dr. Hana worked without stopping, running the alien sounds through every program she had. Finally, she leaned back in her chair. "I've got it. It's basic, but I can understand some of it." "Play it," Jin ordered. The alien voice filled the room. It was high-pitched, scared, and behind it, they could hear screaming. Hana's translation appeared on the screen as the message played. "Please, anyone, they are taking us. We are not warriors. They treat us like animals. Refuge station. Theta 7, we are dying. Please." The message cut off suddenly. The room fell silent. "Where is Theta 7? Jin asked. Bora pulled up a star map. "Velkara system, 47 light-years from here. There's a large station there. Orbits a gas giant." "Can we reach them?" Sung asked. "We could, but we're just a monitoring station," Bora said. "We'd need a real ship." Jin turned to his crew. These were good people. They had signed up to explore, to make peaceful contact with alien life. Now they had found that life, and it was being murdered. "Send the signal to Earth Command," Jin said. "Mark it urgent. Tell them we need a ship, weapons, everything." "Already done," Hana said. "But Captain, I found something else. I've been searching our database. We have files on aliens. Old files, classified." "How old?" Jin asked. "They're dated from first contact. Our first contact." Hana pulled up the files. "Captain, Earth has known about aliens for 20 years. The room exploded with noise. Everyone spoke at once, angry, confused, betrayed. Jin raised his hand for silence. "Show me," he said to Hana. The files were incomplete, clearly edited, but they told a story. 20 years ago, an alien ship had found Earth. They had scanned the planet, analyzed humanity, and left without making contact. Earth's governments had tracked them, hacked their systems, and stolen their data. What they found had shocked them. There was a galactic concordat, a government of hundreds of alien species. They knew about Earth, they knew about humans, and they had classified Earth as forbidden. "Class 12 Death World," Hana read from the file. "Environment, extreme. Gravity, 3 times galactic standard. Atmosphere, corrosive. Dominant species, apex predators. Recommendation, quarantine, do not engage." "They're afraid of us," Sung said, and he almost smiled. The entire galaxy is afraid of us. Jin understood now. Humanity's homeworld was a nightmare by alien standards. The gravity that made humans strong would crush most aliens. The air that humans breathed would poison others. The animals that humans had learned to hunt would be monsters on gentler worlds. Humanity had evolved in hell, and it had made them into something the galaxy had never seen before. "Response from Earth Command," Bora announced. "The UES Indomitable is being dispatched. ETA, 6 days. 6 days. Jin looked at the star map, at the tiny dot that represented Refuge Station Theta 7. Those aliens had sent their distress call hours ago. How many had died since then? How many would die in the next 6 days? "There's more to the message," Hana said quietly. "I found video data buried in the signal." She played it. The screen showed beings unlike anything Jin had ever imagined. They looked almost like large frogs with smooth skin that shifted colors. They were beautiful in their strangeness, and they were being herded into cages by armored figures carrying weapons. Children. There were children in those cages. Jin felt something cold settle into his chest. He had seen this before on Earth during the wars. He had sworn he would never see it again. "The Concordat knows," Hana said. "I've been monitoring their channels. They received the same distress call. They're not responding." "Why not?" Bora asked, her voice small. Hana pulled up another file. "Their laws. They don't interfere in internal conflicts. The attackers, they're called the Krethix Collective. They're slavers. The Concordat considers them a legitimate government." Jin looked at his crew. At Hana, who believed in the goodness of the universe. At Sung, who knew the cost of looking away. At Bora, who still had hope in her eyes. "The Indomitable will arrive in 6 days," Jin said. "We're going to save everyone we can. The galaxy thinks humans are monsters. Let's show them what monsters do when someone threatens the innocent." For the first time in years, Jin Day felt like a soldier again. And this time, he was fighting for something that mattered. The UES Indomitable cut through space like a knife through water. Commander Tay sat in his captain's chair, watching the stars blur past. This ship had once been humanity's greatest weapon, built during the dark days when humans still killed each other. Now it would be humanity's first weapon used to protect others. Tay was older than most of his crew. His hair was gray, and his hands carried scars from battles he tried to forget. He had hoped his fighting days were over. But when Earth Command had shown him the alien distress call, he had volunteered immediately. Some things were worth fighting for. 6 hours until we reach Velkara system, announced Pilot June, a young man who flew the ship like it was part of his body. June had been born on a colony world and had never known war. Tay planned to keep it that way if he could. "Have we received any updates from Sentinel-9?" Tay asked. "Yes, sir. The signal stopped 3 days ago." Lieutenant Sung's voice came through the comms. He was still at the monitoring station, coordinating information. "We've picked up weapon signatures. Whatever's happening there, it's still going on." Tay closed his eyes for a moment. 3 days of silence. That could mean the aliens were already dead, or it could mean they had no power left to broadcast. Either way, time was running out. "Corporal Nari, report to the bridge," Tai said into his comm. Nari arrived within minutes. She was the leader of the ship's Marine squad, a woman who had grown up in Earth's worst slums and fought her way into the military. She was short, muscular, and absolutely terrifying in combat. She also had a soft spot for children that she tried to hide. "You called, Commander?" Nari asked. "I'm showing you what we're walking into," Tay said. He played the video from the distress call. Nari watched without speaking, but her jaw tightened when the alien children appeared on screen. "How many enemies?" Nari asked. "Unknown." Intelligence says the Krethiks Collective operates in groups of 5 to 10 ships. They're slavers, not soldiers. They prey on weak targets. Then they picked the wrong target this time, Nari said. My squad is ready. Just get us there. Tay nodded. He had seen Nari's file. She had once fought off 12 armed men with nothing but a broken bottle to protect a child. The Krethiks had no idea what was coming for them. In the medical bay, Dr. Ara was preparing for casualties. She was a small woman with gentle hands and eyes that had seen too much death. She had been a battlefield medic during Earth's last war, saving lives while bombs fell around her. We're going to have alien wounded, Ara said to her assistant. I have no idea how to treat them. I don't know their biology. What medicines will work? What will kill them? You'll figure it out, her assistant said. You always do. Ara hoped he was right. She had spent the last 3 days studying the brief video of the aliens. Their skin changed colors, which suggested some kind of emotional or environmental response. They were amphibious, maybe, given their smooth skin and large eyes. Beyond that, she was guessing. In the engineering section, young Bora was checking weapon systems. The Indomitable carried enough firepower to level a city. Missiles, railguns, energy weapons, all maintained and ready. Bora had never fired a weapon in anger before. She hoped she wouldn't have to start now. All systems green, Bora reported to the bridge. We're ready for anything. Good, Tay's voice came back. Because we're about to find out what anything means. The crew gathered in the briefing room an hour before arrival. Tay stood before them, his presence commanding despite his age. Here's what we know, Tay began. The Krethiks Collective is a slaving operation tolerated by the Galactic Concordat. They target peaceful species, take them as cargo, and sell them across the galaxy. The aliens who sent the distress call are called the Tilmari. They had a population of 2 billion. Intelligence suggests only a few 100,000 remain. The room fell silent. Numbers like that were hard to process. The Concordat isn't responding because their laws say this is an internal matter, Tay continued. They've decided some suffering is acceptable if it keeps the peace. That's insane, June said. How can they just watch? Because they're scared, Nari answered. They've built a civilization where nobody has to be brave, where nobody has to risk anything. And when you stop taking risks, you stop caring. Tay nodded. The Krethiks don't know we're coming. They don't know Earth exists. They think the Tilmari are helpless. We're going to use that. He pulled up a tactical display. Refuge Station Theta 7 is a civilian station now occupied. Sensors show 6 Krethiks warships in orbit. Intelligence says each ship carries about 50 soldiers. 300 enemies total. We have 40 Marines, Nari said. I like those odds. Some of the crew laughed nervously. Ty didn't. He knew Nari wasn't joking. Our mission is rescue, not revenge, Tay said firmly. We save the Tilmari. We minimize casualties on both sides if possible. But if the Krethiks fight, we fight back with everything we have. What if they surrender? Someone asked. Then we take them prisoner and turn them over to Earth Command, Tay said. We're not executioners, we're soldiers. As the crew dispersed to their stations, Ty called Nari back. You know this might go bad, Tay said quietly. The Krethiks might kill their prisoners rather than lose them. We might arrive to find everyone dead. Then we make sure the Krethiks regret it, Nari said. Commander, I grew up watching strong people hurt weak people because nobody would stop them. That's not happening today. Not while I'm breathing. Tay nodded. This was why he had chosen Nari to lead the Marines. She understood what mattered. 1 hour to arrival, June announced over the ship's speakers. All hands to battle stations. Tay returned to his chair. Around him, his crew prepared for humanity's first battle among the stars. They checked weapons, sealed armor, said quiet prayers to gods old and new. They were scared. They were ready. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velkara system. Immediately, sensors lit up with contacts. 6 warships confirmed, Bora reported. They're surrounding the station. I'm also reading. Commander, there are slave ships, 3 of them. They're loading prisoners right now. Tay felt rage burn in his chest, cold and controlled. Open a channel to the Krethix flagship. The screen flickered to life. A creature appeared, reptilian with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red. It wore ornate armor and looked at Tay with amusement. I am Commander Vex of the Krethix Collective, the alien said. Its voice was translated by the ship's computer. You are in restricted space. Leave or be destroyed. I am Commander Tay of the United Earthship Indomitable, Tay said calmly. You are holding sentient beings against their will. Release them immediately. Vex laughed. Earth? The Death World? The Concordat's ghost story? You expect me to believe you're real? We're real, Tay said, and we're giving you 1 chance. Let the Tilmari go. Or what? Vex's amusement grew. You're 1 ship. We are 6. Leave, Deathworlder, before you learn why you should have stayed in your quarantine. Tay looked at his crew, at Nari, already suited up for battle, at Jun, fingers on the weapons controls, at Ara, waiting in medical, at Bora, ready to push every system past its limits. We gave them a chance, Tay said. Battle stations. Show them what Deathworlders do. The first Krethix missile struck the Indomitable's shields before Vex even finished laughing. Tay had expected this. Bullies always attacked first when someone stood up to them. Return fire, Tay ordered. Target their weapons, not their life support. We're not murderers. The Indomitable's railguns spoke, and chunks of metal moving at impossible speeds tore through space. The nearest Krethix ship's weapon arrays exploded in bright flowers of fire. The alien ship spun away, damaged but intact. They're surrounding us, Bora reported, her fingers flying across her controls. 4 ships moving to flanking positions, 2 staying back to protect the slave ships. Jun, evasive pattern delta, Tay commanded. Show them how a Deathworlder flies. Pilot Jun grinned and pushed the throttle forward. The Indomitable twisted through space in ways that should have been impossible for a ship its size. Krethix missiles flew past, missing by meters. Their ships tried to follow, but couldn't match Jun's insane maneuvers. They're pulling 8Gs in those turns, one of the crew members said, sounding sick. That should kill them. It would kill a Krethix, Nari said from where she stood ready with her Marines. Humans are built different. Another volley of railgun fire hammered into the Krethix formation. A second ship lost its weapons. A third took damage to its engines and began to drift. This is impossible, they heard Vex's voice over the open channel. 1 ship cannot fight 6. You're right, Tay said calmly. 1 normal ship can't. But we're from Earth. We don't believe in impossible. In the Marine Bay, Nari checked her squad 1 final time. 40 men and women in heavy armor, carrying weapons that could punch through walls. They were scared. She could see it in their eyes. But they were ready. Listen up, Nari said. Those aliens in there, the Tilmari, they're prisoners. They're probably hurt, definitely scared. We're going to get them out. We're going to do it fast, and we're going to do it right. Nobody gets left behind. Not them, not us. Understood? Yes, Corporal, the squad shouted back. Good, now let's go save some lives. The boarding pods launched from the Indomitable like bullets from a gun. They were small armored capsules, each carrying 5 Marines. The Krethix tried to shoot them down, but Jun kept the enemy ships too busy dodging to aim properly. Nari's pod hit the station's hull with a crash that would have broken bones in any normal species. The Marines felt it through their armor, but ignored it. The pod's cutting laser burned through the station's outer wall in seconds. "Go! Go! Go!" Nari shouted. The Marines poured into the station. They found themselves in a storage area, dark and empty. Nari checked her scanner. "Life signs that way. 200 meters. Move." The squad ran through corridors built for beings smaller than humans. They had to duck, to squeeze through doorways, but nothing slowed them down. They were on a mission. A group of Krethix soldiers appeared around a corner, 4 of them carrying energy weapons. They saw the Marines and opened fire. Bright beams of light struck human armor and burned through in places. One Marine screamed and went down, holding his shoulder. Nari didn't slow. She raised her rifle and fired back. The human weapon roared, and bullets tore through Krethix armor like paper. The aliens fell, shocked by the sheer violence of it. "Jones, you good?" Nari asked the wounded Marine. "Just a burn, Corporal," Jones said, already back on his feet. "I'm good." They kept moving. Behind them, more Marines were boarding. The Krethix were learning that humans didn't just fight to win. They fought like the battle had already cost them everything, like they had nothing left to lose. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Tay watched the tactical display. 3 Krethix ships were now combat ineffective. The other 3 were pulling back, trying to reorganize. "Commander, we have a problem," Bora said. "The slave ships are starting to move. They're trying to run with the prisoners still aboard." Tay made a decision. "Jun, new target. I want those slave ships disabled, not destroyed. Shoot their engines only." "On it, Commander," Jun said. He brought the Indomitable around in a turn that pushed even human limits. The ship's frame groaned with the stress. Jun didn't care. He lined up his shot and fired. The railgun rounds were perfectly aimed. They struck each slave ship's engine section, ripping through machinery but avoiding the prisoner holds. The ships went dead in space, floating helpless. "Boarding teams to the slave ships," Tay ordered. "Get those people out now." Inside the station, Nari's squad reached the main holding area. What they found there would haunt them forever. Hundreds of Tilmari packed into cages barely large enough to hold them. Many were wounded. Some were dead. And in the corner, separated from the others, were the children. "Dear God," one of the Marines whispered. Nari felt rage like she had never known. But she pushed it down, locked it away. There would be time for anger later. Now was the time for rescue. "Break those cages open," Nari commanded. "Medics, start treating the wounded, and someone find me a translator." The Marines went to work. They tore the cage doors off with their armored hands. The Tilmari cowered at first, terrified of these strange beings in metal suits. But then one of the Marines removed her helmet. It was Private Lee, a young woman with a kind face. She smiled at the nearest Tilmari and held out her hand. "It's okay," Lee said softly, even though the alien couldn't understand. "We're here to help. You're safe now." The Tilmari's skin shifted from dark purple to light blue. Its large eyes blinked. Slowly, carefully, it reached out and took Lee's hand. All around the room, the same scene repeated. Marines removing helmets, showing their faces, helping the wounded. The Tilmari began to understand. These armored warriors were here to save them. Suddenly, Nari's radio crackled. "Contact! More Krethix coming, a lot of them." Nari turned to her squad. "Half of you stay here and protect the civilians. The rest with me. We're going to buy our people time." They met the Krethix in a long corridor. 20 alien soldiers against 10 Marines. The Krethix commander pointed at Nari and shouted something in its language. Then they charged. The battle was brutal and short. The Krethix were professional soldiers with good weapons and armor. But the Marines were from Earth, a world where the predators hunted in packs and never gave up. Every Marine who fell got back up. Every wound they took just made them fight harder. Nari found herself face to face with the Krethix commander. It was bigger than her, stronger than her by any normal standard. It swung a massive blade at her head. She blocked with her rifle, felt the weapon break in her hands, and didn't care. She dropped the broken pieces and punched the alien in its center mass. The Krethix flew backward, its armor cracked from a human fist. It stared at her in disbelief. "On Earth, we call this a fair fight," Nari said. She didn't know if it understood. She didn't care. The Krethix stopped coming after that. The survivors ran, leaving their weapons behind. Back on the Indomitable, Tay received reports from all teams. The station was secure. The slave ships were being evacuated. Marine casualties, 17 wounded, 0 dead. Tilmari rescued, over 100,000. "Commander Vex is hailing us," Bora said. Tay opened the channel. Vex's face appeared, no longer amused. Now the alien looked afraid. "What are you?" Vex demanded. "We're humans," Tay said simply. "And we don't negotiate with slavers. You have 10 minutes to surrender, or we finish this fight." Vex's ship fled. The remaining Krethix vessels followed. They left behind their wounded, their weapons, their prisoners. They ran from one human ship. In the medical bay, Dr. Ara worked frantically. She had Tilmari wounded, human wounded, even some Krethix wounded that the Marines had brought in. She didn't know proper treatment protocols for aliens, so she did what she always did. She tried, she improvised, she saved everyone she could. One of the Tilmari children was badly hurt. Its skin turned gray from pain. Ara worked on it while its parent watched, making sounds of distress. Ara had no idea if her medicine would work on alien biology, but she tried anyway, and slowly the child's color returned. The parent's skin shifted to bright yellow, and it reached out and touched Ara's hand gently. Ara understood. Some things needed no translation. Ambassador High Lim had never expected to leave Earth. She had been a lawyer, fighting for justice in courtrooms, using words as her weapons. Now she stood on a transport ship heading toward Concordat Central, the capital of galactic civilization. And she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Earth Command had chosen her for a simple reason. She was the best negotiator humanity had, and she didn't back down from anyone. When they told her she would be defending Earth's actions at Theta 7, she had smiled and said, "Good, let me tell them exactly what I think of their laws." The Concordat Central was beautiful. A massive space station orbiting a peaceful world, home to thousands of alien species living together. High watched through the viewport as they approached, seeing buildings of crystal and light, gardens floating in zero gravity, ships from across the galaxy coming and going in harmony. It looked like paradise, but High knew what paradise had cost. She had read the files. She knew about the species the Concordat had abandoned, the ones deemed too weak or too far away to help. Paradise was built on the suffering of those who didn't fit. A diplomatic escort met her at the docking bay. The alien was tall and thin, with skin like blue glass and eyes that seemed to see through her. "Ambassador High Lim of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Counselor Tin, your guide. The Concordat Council awaits you." "Let's not keep them waiting," High said. The council chamber was enormous, hundreds of seats arranged in a circle, each one holding a representative from a different species. At the center was Chancellor Miktara, the leader of the Concordat. The Chancellor looked like living water, its form constantly shifting and flowing. "Ambassador He Lim," Miktara's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Earth stands accused of 16 violations of Concordat law. Unprovoked military action, interference in sovereign territory, use of excessive force. How do you answer these charges?" High stood alone at the center of the chamber, surrounded by aliens who could destroy her world with a word. She felt no fear. She had faced worse in Earth's courtrooms. "Guilty," High said simply. "We violated your laws, every single one of them, and we would do it again." The chamber erupted in noise, aliens speaking in 100 languages, all shocked by her honesty. Miktara raised a hand, and silence fell. You admit your crimes? I admit we violated your laws, High corrected. But the Krethics Collective violated something more important than law. They violated basic decency. They were taking sentient beings as slaves. And you did nothing. The Krethics operate within their sovereign space, another counselor said. This one looked like an insect made of gold. Concordant law forbids interference in internal matters. 1 billion beings enslaved. And you call that internal? High's voice was sharp. At what point does law become an excuse for cowardice? You do not understand our position, Miktara said. The Concordant maintains peace across 10,000 worlds. We cannot involve ourselves in every conflict. Some suffering must be tolerated to prevent greater war. No, High said flatly. You're wrong. Peace without justice isn't peace. It's just oppression with paperwork. She pulled up a holographic display. Let me tell you about Earth. Our world has 3 times your standard gravity. Our atmosphere would burn your lungs. Our predators could kill most of your species with ease. We evolved in what you call a Class 12 death world. The council members shifted uncomfortably. High continued. But you know what Earth taught us? Not just how to survive, but why. We learned that the strong protect the weak. We learned that turning away from suffering makes you less, not more, civilized. Every major culture on Earth, across all our history, understood this. Help those who cannot help themselves. Earth also has a history of violence, another counselor said. Your species has killed billions of your own kind. Yes, High admitted. We did. And we learned from it. We learned what happens when good people do nothing. We learned the cost of looking away. That's why when we heard that distress call, we didn't ask if it was legal to help. We asked if it was right. A new voice spoke up. It came from a small figure in the back. High recognized it from the files. This was Elder Sulana, a Tilmari representative. May I speak, Chancellor? Sulana asked. The Tilmari have observer status only, Miktara said. You have no voice in this matter. Then I will speak anyway, Sulana said, and walked to the center beside High. I was on Theta 7. I saw my children put in cages. I watched my people die, and I heard the Concordate's response to our distress call. Silence. The Tilmari's skin shifted through colors as it spoke, showing emotions that needed no translation. Fear, grief, and now anger. The humans came with one ship, Sulana continued. They faced 6 enemy vessels and fought anyway. They bled for us. A human soldier named Nari held my daughter while a doctor saved her life. They did not ask if we were important enough to save. They did not check if it was profitable. They simply helped. Sulana turned to face the council. You want to punish Earth for this? For being brave when you were afraid? For caring when you were indifferent? This is highly irregular, Miktara said. So is watching children die and calling it law, High shot back. She pulled up more data. I've done my research, Chancellor. In the last 200 years, the Krethics Collective has enslaved 47 species, 12 billion sentient beings. The Concordate has known this entire time. You have reports, evidence, testimony, and you did nothing. The chamber fell silent. High could see the truth on their faces. They had known. They had always known. Why? High asked, and her voice was softer now. Why allow this? Because intervention means war, Miktara said quietly. The Krethics are strong. Fighting them would cost lives. We chose peace. You chose comfort. High corrected. There's a difference. Peace requires bravery. It requires standing up for what's right even when it's hard. You built a paradise on the backs of those too weak to defend themselves, and you called it civilization. And what would you have us do? Another counselor demanded. Fight every battle? Police every system? We cannot save everyone. No, High agreed. But you can save someone. You can try. That's all Earth did. We tried. A message came through High's communicator. She glanced at it and smiled. Chancellor, I have new information. Earth has conducted a census of the Tilmari we rescued. 127,000 survivors. We're currently treating 15,000 wounded. We've identified locations of 17 more Krethix slave operations. She paused. And 47 species have sent messages to Earth requesting help. Species the Concordat has classified as insufficient priority for intervention. They're asking if we'll do for them what we did for the Tilmari. Impossible, Miktara said. Earth is one world. You cannot police the galaxy. You're right. We can't, High said. But we can start. We can show that someone cares. We can prove that might doesn't make right, that strength means protecting others, not exploiting them. She looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. Earth doesn't want to join your Concordat. Your laws are broken, but we're offering an alternative. We call it the Sentinel Pact. Any species that wants protection can join. We'll train them, defend them, help them become strong enough to defend themselves. You would create a rival government? Miktara asked. We would create accountability, High said. Earth learned something you seem to have forgotten. Power without responsibility is tyranny. You have the power to help, but you choose not to. That makes you responsible for what happens when you look away. The council chamber descended into chaos. Some counselors were outraged. Others were thoughtful. A few looked ashamed. Finally, Miktara spoke. This council must deliberate. Ambassador High, you will remain at Concordat Central until we reach a decision. Fine, High said. But while you deliberate, people are dying. Every hour you spend talking is an hour the Krethix spend hunting. Remember that. As High left the chamber, Elder Sulana followed her. Thank you, the Tilmari said, for speaking for us. I didn't speak for you, High said gently. I spoke for what's right. There's a difference. Then thank you for that too, Sulana said. What will happen now? High looked out at the beautiful station, at the paradise built on compromise and calculated indifference. Now we find out if the galaxy still remembers what justice means, she said. And if they don't, Earth will teach them. 6 months had passed since the rescue at Theta 7. The galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. Admiral Tay stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at a display that showed 47 star systems. Each one was marked with Earth's symbol, a simple blue planet. These were the worlds that had signed the Sentinel Pact, worlds that had asked humanity for protection, for training, for hope. Admiral, incoming message from Earth Command, Lieutenant Sung said. He had transferred from Sentinel 9 to serve as Tai's second in command. The Krethix Collective has launched their retaliation fleet, 300 ships heading for Tilmari homeworld. Tay had expected this. The Krethix had been humiliated at Theta 7. They had lost face in front of the entire galaxy. Now they wanted revenge, and they wanted to send a message to anyone who dared oppose them. How many ships do we have? Tay asked. 30 Earth vessels, Sung replied, and 17 allied ships from species we've trained. We're outnumbered 10 to 1. Around the bridge, the crew exchanged glances. 10 to 1 was terrible odds by any normal standard. But the crew of the Indomitable had learned something over the past 6 months. Humans didn't think like normal species. Then they should have brought more ships, Tay said calmly. Send the order. All Sentinel Pact forces, rally at Tilmari homeworld. We're ending this today. Captain Nari was no longer a corporal. Her actions at Theta 7 had earned her a promotion and command of the 1st Integrated Human-Alien Marine Corps. She stood in the training bay of her ship, watching Tilmari soldiers practice combat drills alongside human Marines. The Tilmari had changed since their rescue. They were no longer the frightened beings from the cages. They had learned from humans, and it showed. One of the Tilmari, a young soldier named Key executed a perfect combat role and came up firing. The training target exploded. "Good!" Nari shouted. "Again! Faster this time!" Key's skin flashed bright yellow with pride. 6 months ago, this same Tilmari had been a child in a cage, too scared to move. Now Key was a soldier, ready to defend their home world. Nari's second in command, a human sergeant named Juan, approached her. "Captain, we're getting reports. The Krethix fleet is massive. Are we really going to fight?" "Yes," Nari said simply. "Because if we don't, who will? The Concordat? They're still debating whether they should even condemn the Krethix." "I heard some Concordat species want to join us," Juan said. 3 so far, Nari confirmed. "Small species, weak by galactic standards, but they're brave. They see what we're doing, and they want to be part of it. They want to matter." In the medical bay, Dr. Ara was training alien medics. She had learned so much about alien biology over the past months. The Tilmari could regrow limbs if you kept them moist. The insectoid chi species needed a different blood chemistry for healing. The plant-like Vora required photosynthesis during surgery. "Remember," Ara told her students, "biology is different, but suffering is universal. When someone is hurt, they need help. Everything else is just details." A young Tilmari medic raised a hand. "Dr. Ara, what if we fail? What if we cannot save them?" Ara thought about all the soldiers she had lost during Earth's wars. "Then you try anyway. Trying and failing is part of medicine. But not trying? That's when you've truly failed." The fleets met in orbit around the Tilmari home world. 300 Krethix warships against 47 ships from Earth and its allies. The Krethix commander, a different one than Vex, opened a channel. "Humans!" The alien's voice was filled with contempt. "You embarrassed us once. That will not happen again. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick." Admiral Tay looked at the odds on his screen, 10 to 1. His tactical officer was sweating. His weapons officer looked pale. Even Sung seemed nervous. Tay smiled. "This is Admiral Tay of Earth," he said. 6 months ago, you learned what one human ship could do. Today, you're going to learn what 47 ships crewed by people who refuse to give up can accomplish. He cut the channel and turned to his crew. "Remember, we're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting because those people down there asked for our help. Every species that signed the Sentinel Pact did so because they believe in something better than tyranny. Let's prove them right." The battle began. The Krethix fleet advanced in perfect formation, their ships coordinated and professional. They had better numbers, better firepower, better tactics by every military standard. But they didn't have humanity's insanity. The Earth ships didn't retreat. They didn't try to match the Krethix formation. Instead, they charged straight into the enemy fleet, breaking formation, turning the battle into chaos. Pilot Jun, now commanding his own fighter squadron, led his ships between massive Krethix cruisers, flying patterns that should have been suicide. Krethix missiles destroyed each other trying to target him. Human fighters were smaller, faster, and piloted by people who thought gravity was a suggestion. "This is Jun to all fighters," he called over the radio. "Remember your training. They're bigger, but we're crazier. Make them regret showing up today." On the ground, Nari's Marines and their Tilmari allies prepared for the worst. If the space battle was lost, the Krethix would land troops. They would try to recapture the Tilmari people. "Not happening," Nari said to her combined force. "This is their home. They asked us to help defend it. So that's what we do. Any Krethix that makes it to the surface, we send them back up. In pieces if necessary." Beside her, Key, the Tilmari soldier, checked their weapon. "Corporal Nari once told me that humans protect what they love. I understand now. We love our world. We will fight for it." Nari felt pride swell in her chest. "That's right, Key. Today we're all Deathworlders." In space, the battle raged. The Krethiks were learning what the Concordat had known and feared. Humans didn't fight to win. They fought like the battle had already cost them everything, like surrender wasn't even a word they understood. An Earth destroyer took critical damage, its hull breached, life support failing. The crew didn't abandon ship. Instead, they rammed it into a Krethiks carrier, taking the larger ship down with them. The crew evacuated at the last second, their escape pods picked up by Allied ships. A Tilmari cruiser found itself surrounded by 5 Krethiks vessels. The Tilmari captain, trained by humans, didn't panic. Instead, they did exactly what they had been taught. They targeted the nearest enemy's weapons, disabled it, and used the dead ship as a shield while they fought the others. Humans would be proud, the Tilmari captain said as their ship tore through Krethiks formations. The tide began to turn. The Krethiks had numbers, but the Sentinel-packed forces had something more important. They had a reason to fight. Every human in that battle was there by choice, protecting people they had chosen to care about. Every alien ally was fighting for their own freedom, for the right to exist without fear. The Krethiks were fighting because they were ordered to. After 6 hours of battle, the Krethiks fleet broke. They had lost 100 ships to the Sentinel Pact's 12. Their formations were shattered, their morale destroyed. The remaining ships fled, jumping to faster-than-light speed and disappearing. Admiral Tay received damage reports. They had won, but the cost was heavy. 12 ships lost, thousands of casualties, both human and alien. But the Tilmari homeworld was safe. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Concordat Central," Sung reported. Chancellor Miktara appeared on the screen, the liquid being looked different somehow. Less certain, perhaps. "Admiral Tay," Miktara said, "the Concordat Council has watched your battle. We have also received reports of 17 other Krethik slave operations that your forces have shut down in the past 6 months." "Just doing what's right," Tay said. "The Concordat wishes to negotiate," Miktara said slowly. "Your Sentinel Pact has exposed flaws in our system. Species we deemed unworthy of protection have proven themselves brave and capable with your training. Perhaps we were wrong." "Perhaps?" Tay's voice was hard. "Chancellor, billions died because you were perhaps wrong." "I know," Miktara said, and for the first time, the being sounded genuinely sorry. "That is why the Concordat is proposing reforms, new intervention protocols, a combined force to respond to future threats. And we would like Earth to help lead this force." Tay looked at his crew, at Sung, who had come from a monitoring station to fight in the biggest battle in human history, at the Tilmari liaison on his bridge, wearing an Earth uniform with pride. "We'll consider it," Tay said. "But understand this, Chancellor. Earth isn't joining your system to follow your rules. We're joining to change them. The galaxy needs to remember that civilization isn't about having the most comfortable peace. It's about being brave enough to fight for those who can't fight for themselves." "I am beginning to understand that," Miktara said. "Ambassador High has been educational." 3 months later, Earth officially joined the Galactic Concordat, but on their own terms. The Sentinel Pact became the Concordat's rapid response force. Species that had been ignored for centuries now had protection. The laws were changed. Slavery was outlawed across all Concordat space, with enforcement led by human-trained task forces. Captain Bora, the former engineer from Sentinel-9, now commanded her own ship, the UES Guardian. She sat in her captain's chair, looking at a new distress signal that had just come in. Another species in trouble. Another cry for help from the darkness. Her crew looked at her, waiting for orders. They were a mix of humans, Tilmari, Chi, Vora, and a dozen other species. All of them wore Earth's symbol on their uniforms. All of them had chosen to be here. "Plot a course," Bora ordered, "and send a message back. Tell them help is coming. Tell them the Deathworlders heard their call." As the Guardian jumped to faster-than-light speed, Bora thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone, feared and isolated. Now they were leaders, teachers, protectors. The galaxy had learned something important about Deathworlders. Yes, they were dangerous. Yes, they could be violent. Yes, they came from a world that would kill most species. But the most dangerous thing about humans wasn't their capacity for violence. It was their capacity for love, because a human would endure anything, survive anything, fight anything to protect what they cared about. And they had decided to care about the entire galaxy. In the darkness of space, the Guardian flew toward another rescue, another battle, another chance to prove that strength meant protecting the weak. Behind them, 47 worlds slept safely, knowing someone was watching. The Deathworlders were on guard, and the galaxy was finally learning what that meant.